Naruto had defeated enemies stronger than legend, he had protected the entire ninja world, but the moment he discovered Sakura was pregnant, for the first time in his life, Naruto Uzumaki was truly afraid. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we will see what if Naruto gets Sakura pregnant. If you enjoy this video then please like, share and also check out our Patreon page for unscored 18 plus Naruto's Lemon story. So let's start this story.
The night air over Kanehagakure carried the gentle warmth of early spring. Lantern light flickered across rooftops, and the distant hum of nightlife echoed faintly through the village streets. Inside a modest apartment near the medical district, Sakura Haruno sat motionless on the edge of her bed. Her room was dark except for a single lamp glowing on the bedside table. The light cast long shadows along the walls, making the silence feel heavier than it should have been. Outside, laughter drifted upward from civilians walking home after dinner. Somewhere a dog barked. The sounds blurred together until they were nothing but distant noise. Sakura barely heard them. Her thoughts circled endlessly. What happens now? Her fingers tightened around the bedsheet beneath her. The cotton twisted in her grip. Her chest felt tight, too tight. Sakura forced herself to inhale slowly, but the air caught halfway in her lungs. The medic Nin, who had saved countless lives, suddenly struggled to calm her own racing heartbeat. She bowed her head. Pink hair slid forward across her face. "Calm down," she whispered to herself hoarsely. The words felt empty. Another breath, then another. Still, the weight in her stomach refused to fade. A sudden burst of loud laughter from the street snapped her back to reality. Sakura blinked. Had she been sitting there for minutes or hours? Her cheeks felt stiff. When she wiped them with the back of her hand, faint trails of dried tears brushed against her skin. Great. She let out a shaky breath and swung her legs off the bed. Her bare feet hovered just above the floor. For a moment, nausea surged violently in her stomach. Sakura pressed a hand over her mouth. The sensation passed slowly. When it finally faded, she forced herself to stand. "Tea," she muttered. "Tea will help." The kitchen light flicked on with a soft click. Cabinets opened and closed as she searched through stacks of dishes and cooking supplies. Eventually, she located the kettle hiding behind several unused containers. She rinsed it quickly and set it on the stove. The quiet hiss of the flame filled the small room. While the water heated, Sakura leaned against the counter and stared at nothing. Her mind drifted back to the bedroom, to the object sitting there, waiting. Her stomach twisted again. "I can't deal with this alone." The words slipped out before she realized she had spoken. Sakura hurried back to her room and grabbed her phone from the bedside table. Her contact list scrolled past dozens of names, fellow medics, teammates, mission coordinators. None of them felt right. Her thumb stopped on a familiar name, Ino Yamanaka. A faint smile tugged at her lips when the contact photo appeared. Instead of the blonde Kunoichi, the picture showed Taunton, Tsunade's beloved pig, wearing a tiny scarf. Sakura snorted quietly. Ino would murder me if she knew I changed her picture to this. The smile lasted only a second. Her gaze drifted downward. Resting on the blanket beside her was a small plastic stick. Two unmistakable lines. Positive. Her heart slammed against her ribs. This can't be real. The kettle shrieked loudly from the kitchen. Sakura jumped. She hurried back and turned off the burner before the sound woke half the building. Steam rose from the kettle as she poured hot water into 2 cups, dropping chamomile bags into each. 2 cups. The habit was automatic. She froze. A loud knock suddenly echoed from the apartment door. Sakura sighed. That was fast. She shuffled to the entrance and opened it. Standing outside was Ino Yamanaka, blonde ponytail slightly disheveled, arms crossed impatiently. You owe me an explanation, Ino said immediately as she stepped inside without waiting for permission. I was halfway out the door when your message popped up saying emergency. If this is about a headache. She stopped mid-sentence. Sakura's expression wiped the annoyance right off her face. Okay, Ino said more quietly. Something's actually wrong. Sakura didn't answer. She simply stepped forward and wrapped her arms around her best friend. The sudden force nearly knocked Ino backward. Whoa! Then she felt Sakura trembling. Ino's arms slowly closed around her. What happened? She asked softly. Sakura buried her face into Ino's shoulder. I don't know what to do, she whispered. The words cracked. Ino frowned deeply. That alone was enough to make her uneasy. The kettle clicked softly in the kitchen as it cooled. All right, Ino said, guiding her toward the table. Step 1 tea. Step 2. You explain before my brain invents something worse. They sat across from each other. Steam curled upward from the cups. Sakura stared into hers like it held the answers to every question she had. Ino watched her carefully. So, she prompted. Sakura swallowed. It's about Naruto. Ino's eyes narrowed instantly. What did he do? Nothing. Sakura lifted her head quickly. He didn't do anything wrong. Ino leaned back slightly, confused. Then why do you look like someone just told you the world is ending? Sakura hesitated. Her fingers curled around the warm cup. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then the words finally slipped out. I'm going to have a baby. Silence. Complete silence. Ino blinked once, twice. Then she shot straight out of her chair. You're what? Inu, Sakura hissed. Lower your voice. The blonde clamped both hands over her mouth. Her eyes were enormous. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. Naruto's. Sakura gave her a deadpan look. No, Ino. Obviously Kakashi's. Ino groaned. Don't joke right now. I'm not joking. Ino slowly sat back down. Her brain clearly struggled to catch up. Wait. I thought you two were careful. We were. Sakura rubbed her temples. I was taking precautions. Naruto always made sure we were safe too. So what happened? I wish I knew. The room grew quiet again. Finally, Ino leaned forward. So, what are you planning? Sakura's gaze dropped to the table. Her voice was soft. I'm keeping the baby. There was no hesitation in the statement. Ino studied her for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. All right. Sakura looked up. You're not going to argue? Why would I? Ino said. You've already decided. Sakura exhaled quietly. But you look terrified, Ino added. I am. Her voice barely carried across the table. Sakura pressed her hands together. Everything in Naruto's life is finally moving forward. Tsunade-sama already told him she's preparing him for leadership training. Her eyes dimmed slightly. What if this changes that? Ino tilted her head. Why would it? Because Naruto will try to support me, Sakura said. He'll start taking more missions. He'll sacrifice time he should spend preparing to become Hokage. Ino stared at her like she'd grown another head. Sakura. What? You seriously think Naruto Uzumaki would see this baby as a burden? Sakura didn't answer. Ino sighed dramatically. You're overthinking again. Maybe. No maybe, Ino said firmly. That idiot is obsessed with you. If anything, he'll start bragging about becoming a dad before he becomes Hokage. A reluctant smile touched Sakura's lips. Her voice softened. I don't know if I'm ready to be someone's mother. Ino leaned forward and flicked her forehead lightly. Ow! You're spiraling again, Ino said. Take a breath. Sakura inhaled slowly, then exhaled. Better. A little. Good.
Ino leaned back with a small grin. You will figure it out. You always do. Sakura studied her best friend. Thanks for coming. Ino waved dismissively. Please, I was bored anyway. I thought you had planned with Ten. Yeah, well, Ino scratched her cheek. Awkwardly, she cancelled on me. So you came here to complain? Exactly. Sakura laughed quietly. For the first time that night, the tight knot in her chest loosened slightly. Later, they moved back to the bedroom. Ino sprawled across the bed like she owned the place. Sakura sat beside her, hugging a pillow. The earlier panic had faded somewhat, but a behavior through still lingered in Sakura's mind. Naruto did not know, and eventually he would have to. Outside the window, the village light seemed softly under the moon. Sakura rested her hand unconsciously over her stomach. Her expression grew thoughtful. How do I tell him? For away on the outskirts of the village training field, a lone figure stood beneath the moonlight. Naruto Uzumaki. His fists were clenched. The wind rustled his cloak. Behind him, carved into the mountain, the stone faces of the Hokage rose silently. Naruto started up at them with burning determination. I will reach that, said no matter what. But just as he turned to leave, a strange chill ran down his spine. The wind shifted, and for a brief moment, Naruto felt as tough sometime in his future had just changed forever. He did not know why. He only knew one thing. The path to becoming Hokage has just become far more complicated, and he had no any why. Night settled quietly over Konohagakure, but Sakura apartment was no longer wrapped in suffocating silence it had held earlier. The tension has loosened slightly, replaced by the comfortable presence of a lifelong friend across Sakura bed. Ino Yamanka had completely taken over the space, sprawled on her back with casual confidence of someone who treated the room like her own.
Sakura sat near the headboard, hugging a pillow to her chest, her earlier panic now dulled by exhaustion. Ino glanced toward the ceiling lazily. So, where's Naruto these days? She asked. I feel like I haven't seen him in forever. Sakura shifted slightly. He's in Sunagakure right now. S-rank mission. Something about reconnaissance. She shrugged. I wasn't given many details. Ino whistled softly. 3 weeks gone already, right? Yeah. That explains something, Ino muttered. Sakura looked up. What? Ino rolled onto her side, propping her head up with her hand. Shikamaru vanished around the same time. Also S-rank. Also super secret. Sakura raised an eyebrow. You think they're working together? Ino smirked. Those two? Absolutely. She waved her hand dismissively. Honestly, they've become inseparable lately. Sakura laughed quietly. Shikamaru keeps Naruto from doing something reckless every 5 minutes. And Naruto drags Shikamaru into chaos the other 5, Ino said with a grin. A brief silence followed. Then Ino's eyes slowly slid toward Sakura. The mischievous sparkle in them immediately set off alarm bells. So, she said slowly. Sakura stiffened. So what? Ino's grin widened. How exactly are you planning to tell Naruto he's about to become a dad? The pillow immediately flew over Sakura's face. Don't say it like that. Ino burst out laughing. What? It's the truth. Sakura groaned into the pillow. I haven't even thought about that part yet. Her voice came out muffled. I've been too busy trying not to panic. Ino sat up slightly. Fair enough. Sakura lowered the pillow just enough for one eye to peek out. Part of me wants to just say it the second he walks through the door, she admitted. Ino snorted. Yeah, that'll go great. What's that supposed to mean? He'll probably faint. Sakura groaned again. Exactly. Ino crossed her arms thoughtfully. Okay, here's my professional advice. Sakura squinted suspiciously. Professional? Absolutely, Ino said proudly. She lifted a finger. Step 1. Wait until Naruto gets back and settles in. Step 2. Let him relax for a day. Step 3. Then drop the life-changing news. Sakura blinked. That's your strategy? Ino nodded seriously. Men operate on routine. Routine. Yeah. Disturb the routine too suddenly and their brains short-circuit. Sakura stared at her. You made that up. Maybe, Ino admitted. But it still sounds smart. Despite herself, Sakura smiled faintly. I guess it makes sense. A few quiet seconds passed. Then Ino's grin slowly returned. Oh, and speaking of the baby. Sakura immediately narrowed her eyes. Ino. Relax, the blonde said casually. She patted the bed beside her. So where exactly did this miracle happen? Sakura froze. What? Ino wiggled her eyebrows. You know. Sakura's face turned bright red. Ino. The pillow flew again. Ino caught it easily, laughing. What? We talk about everything. That doesn't mean you get to ask that. Why not? Ino teased. Because it's embarrassing. Ino tilted her head. You're a medical ninja. That's different. Sakura covered her face with both hands. Ino, please stop. Ino collapsed back onto the bed, laughing uncontrollably. Oh wow, you're actually blushing. I am not. You totally are. Sakura groaned. You're impossible. Hey, Ino said proudly. I take that as a compliment. Eventually the laughter faded. The room grew calm again. For a while, the two simply talked about random things. Old academy memories, teammates, missions, the absurdity of shinobi life. And slowly, the fear in Sakura's chest loosened. Having someone beside her helped. It reminded her she wasn't alone. But deep down, she knew this fragile calm wouldn't last forever. Eventually, she would have to face the one person whose reaction mattered most. Naruto. For now, though, she pushed that thought aside. Tonight was about breathing again. Morning arrived quietly. Soft sunlight slipped through the curtains and painted pale gold across the room. Sakura stirred slowly. Her hand instinctively reached across the bed. The empty space beside her greeted her. For a brief moment, her heart expected to find someone there. Then reality returned. Naruto was still far away. She sat up slowly. The apartment felt different in the morning light. Calmer, clearer. But the truth from last night hadn't vanished. Sakura walked to the window and opened it. Fresh air rushed inside, brushing through her pink hair. Outside, the village had already begun its daily rhythm. Shopkeepers opened their doors. Shinobi leapt across rooftops. Children laughed somewhere in the distance. Life moved forward. Sakura placed a hand over her stomach. Her expression softened. So, it's really happening. Her voice was barely above a whisper. For a long moment she simply stood there, thinking, feeling, accepting. Eventually she moved to the bathroom. The mirror greeted her reflection. Sakura studied herself carefully. Nothing had changed yet. Her stomach was still flat. Her body still looked exactly the same. And yet everything had changed. She rested her palm gently over her abdomen again. A quiet sigh escaped her lips. This is definitely going to ruin my figure. A small smile followed the comment. Her tone softened. But I guess that's okay. Her fingers brushed lightly across her skin. You're really there, aren't you? The thought felt surreal, but not terrifying anymore. Ino had been right. Naruto wouldn't be angry. He would accept it, no matter what. That was the kind of person he was. Her smile grew slightly. You're going to meet him someday. She spoke softly, almost like she was sharing a secret. Your dad's kind of an idiot sometimes, but he's also the most amazing person I know. Outside, the sun climbed higher into the sky. The day looked perfect, bright, peaceful, normal. Yet as Sakura left her apartment and began walking toward the Hokage Tower, a strange heaviness settled in her chest. Something about the morning felt off. She couldn't explain it. The streets seemed quieter than usual. People whispered as they passed. Shinobi hurried across rooftops with tense expressions. Sakura slowed her steps. A cold unease crawled up her spine. And just as she reached the tower gates, the massive doors burst open. An ANBU operative rushed outside, panic clear in his voice. Emergency council meeting. Sakura froze. The shinobi continued shouting. Message from Sunagakure has arrived. A terrible silence fell across the courtyard. Then the words that followed made Sakura's blood run cold. Naruto Uzumaki and Shikamaru Nara's team has gone missing. The decision had formed sometime during the steam and silence of her morning shower. By the time Sakura stepped out and wrapped a towel around herself, the answer had already settled in her mind. Tsunade needed to know. There was no avoiding it. Not as her mentor, not as the Hokage, and certainly not as the most skilled medical ninja in the entire village. Still, knowing something was right didn't make it easy. Now, standing at the base of the Hokage Tower, Sakura felt her resolve wavering. The tall structure loomed above her like a mountain she suddenly wasn't sure she could climb. Her stomach twisted. Maybe I should wait. The thought surfaced quietly. Maybe Naruto should be here when I tell her. Her fingers tightened around the railing as she started up the steps. But even as the idea tried to take root, she already knew the truth. Waiting wasn't an option. She had waited long enough already. Too long to accept what the test had revealed. Too long pretending everything would somehow sort itself out. And Naruto, he could still be away for days, weeks. The uncertainty alone made her chest tighten. Step by step, she climbed. Each footfall echoed softly through the quiet stairwell. Her heart beat faster the closer she came to the top floor. When she finally reached the hallway leading to the Hokage's office, Sakura stopped. The corridor stretched ahead of her. Silent, empty. Her palms felt damp. The massive wooden doors at the far end seemed impossibly far away. You faced Akatsuki members, she thought bitterly. Why is this harder than that? She forced her legs to move. One step, then another. The sound of her sandals tapping the floor seemed far too loud. When she finally reached the door, Sakura raised her hand to knock. Come in. The voice from inside made her freeze. Of course, Tsunade had always possessed an uncanny awareness of her surroundings. Sakura pushed the door open slowly. The Hokage's office looked exactly as it always did. Stacks of scrolls covered the desk. Reports were piled high in messy towers. Sunlight poured in through the window behind the desk. And at the center of it all sat Tsunade Senju. She didn't look up immediately. Her pen continued scratching across a document as Sakura stepped inside. Only after finishing the line did Tsunade glance upward. One eyebrow lifted slightly. Sakura? Her voice carried calm authority. I thought today was your day off. Sakura swallowed. I just thought. Maybe you needed help, she said. Even to her own ears, the excuse sounded weak. Tsunade leaned back slowly in her chair. Her golden eyes studied Sakura carefully. The silence stretched. Then a faint smile appeared at the corner of the Hokage's lips. That's considerate, Tsunade said. Her gaze sharpened slightly. But that's not the real reason you came. Sakura's breath caught. Tsunade folded her arms. You're here because something important happened. Sakura stared at the floor. Yes. Tsunade rose from her chair and walked toward the window behind her desk. For a moment she looked out over the village. Then she spoke again. You've been distracted lately. Sakura's head lifted slightly in surprise. Your posture's different, Tsunade continued calmly. Your chakra flow has been inconsistent. She glanced over her shoulder. And your breathing pattern changed last week. Sakura's heart dropped. And if I'm not mistaken, Tsunade added quietly, you've been dealing with morning nausea. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Sakura's mouth went dry. How? Tsunade turned fully now. Well, she said with a small shrug. Now I'm certain. The realization hit Sakura like a physical blow. Her shoulders slumped. I wasn't trying to hide it, she said quickly. Her voice trembled. I only confirmed it yesterday. Tsunade walked toward her. Her footsteps were slow but steady. Sakura, she said gently. You don't need to justify yourself. Sakura bowed her head deeply. I'm sorry. The words came out raw. I didn't want to disappoint you. For a moment there was no response. Then Sakura felt a hand rest on her shoulder. Warm, steady.
She looked up. Instead of anger, Tsunade's expression held something far softer. Disappoint me. Tsunade gave a quiet chuckle. Sakura, you are not a little girl anymore. Before Sakura could react, Tsunade pulled her into a brief but firm hug. You are 20, the Hokage continued. You have the fought war, saved lives, and become one of the finest medical ninja the village has ever seen. She leaned back slightly. And adults sometimes find themselves facing unexpected turn in life. Sakura blinked rapidly as emotion tightened her throat. But we were careful, she whispered. Every time. Tsunade gave her a knowing look. Careful helps, she said, but nothing in life is absolute. She returned to her desk slowly. Nature does not always follow plans. Sakura hesitated. So you are not angry? Tsunade sighed quietly as she sat down again. Would I have preferred you both? Waited few more years. She shrugged, probably. Her gaze softened again. But that does not mean I'm upset. She tapped her fingers against the desk thoughtfully. It just means things will change. The word echoed in Sakura's mind.
Change. Her expression dimmed slightly. I'm not worried about myself, Sakura admitted. It's Naruto. Tsunade looked up again. This could affect everything for him, Sakura said softly. His training. His dream. Her hands tightened. He's so close to reaching it. And now I might be the one slowing him down. Tsunade's expression hardened immediately. No. The firmness in her voice cut through the air. You are not a burden. Sakura blinked. Naruto Uzumaki has fought his way through obstacles his entire life, Tsunade continued. This won't break him. A small smirk appeared. If anything, it'll make him even more stubborn. Sakura laughed weakly. And let me make something else clear, Tsunade added. She leaned forward slightly. If Naruto becomes a father before becoming Hokage, then he'll simply be a Hokage who has a child. Her tone carried absolute certainty. That title isn't slipping away from him. Sakura felt tears gather in her eyes. Thank you. Tsunade reached across the desk and squeezed her hand briefly. You're not facing this alone. Then the Hokage grabbed a notepad and began scribbling quickly. After a moment, she tore the page free and handed it over. Sakura looked at the list. Medicinal supplements. nutrition guidelines, routine checkups. Take this to the medical supply office, Tsunade said. It'll look like a standard errand. Sakura nodded gratefully. You really thought ahead. Tsunade leaned back in her chair again. Of course I did. Her smirk returned. I figured you'd want to keep the news quiet until Naruto returns. Sakura blinked. Returns? Tsunade tilted her head. Didn't you hear? Sakura's heart skipped. A message hawk arrived this morning. The Hokage folded her arms. His team completed their mission. Sakura's pulse thundered in her ears. They're already on their way back. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. When? Tsunade smiled faintly. By nightfall. The words hit Sakura like lightning. Tonight. Naruto would be back tonight. Her heart raced so fast it almost hurt. Tsunade stood and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Take a breath, the Hokage said gently. Everything will work out. But as Sakura stood there clutching the note in her hand, a strange unease crept into her chest. Because far beyond the walls of the village, a returning shinobi squad raced toward Konoha through the forest. And among them, Naruto Uzumaki was carrying something no one in the village was prepared for. Something that would change far more than just Sakura's life. The road leading back to Kanehagakure stretched quietly beneath a sky filled with stars. After weeks away from home, the sight of the village gates in the distance felt almost unreal. The forest wind carried the scent of warm earth and distant wood smoke. Familiar smells that reminded the returning shinobi exactly where they belonged. At the front of the group, Naruto Uzumaki walked beside Shikamaru Nara. Both looked worn from travel. 3 weeks of mission stress, followed by days of non-stop movement, had drained even Naruto's boundless energy. Still, the moment the distant silhouette of the Hokage monument appeared over the tree-line, Naruto's mood brightened. He stretched his arms behind his head with a loud yawn. Man, I swear that mission lasted a lifetime. Shikamaru didn't look nearly as energetic. His hands remained tucked lazily in his pockets as he trudged along the dirt road. The mission itself wasn't the problem, he muttered. It was the travel. Naruto chuckled. 6 days just walking across the desert and back. Exactly, Shikamaru sighed. The actual objective only took a few hours. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Still, at least you got to see Temari again. Shikamaru's eye twitched. For the 100th time, he said flatly. Temari and I are not a thing. Naruto grinned mischievously. You say that every time. Because it's true. Naruto waved dismissively. Sure. But she was definitely happy to see you. Shikamaru shot him an annoyed look. You're imagining things. Am I? Naruto asked smugly. Shikamaru shook his head. Even if something could have happened between us. It didn't. His tone remained calm but firm. And it's not something I'm interested in changing now. Naruto blinked. Then a slow grin spread across his face. Oh, because of Ino, right? Shikamaru didn't deny it. I'm not stupid enough to hurt someone who actually matters to me. Naruto laughed loudly. Wow, listen to you getting all serious. Shikamaru groaned. Don't start. Naruto bumped his shoulder. I'm just saying, you sound like a completely different person when you talk about her. Shikamaru shrugged. Maybe. Naruto's teasing smile softened slightly. Even if he enjoyed messing with Shikamaru, he genuinely respected how loyal his friend was. The two had been through too much together for Naruto not to appreciate that. As the village grew closer, Naruto's pace gradually quickened. His thoughts drifted elsewhere, to pink hair, to emerald eyes, to the warmth of familiar arms waiting for him. A wide grin appeared on his face before he even realized it. He was so distracted imagining Sakura's reaction when he walked through her door, that he didn't notice someone approaching from behind, until a heavy hand slammed into his shoulder. "Oi, Romeo!" Naruto stumbled slightly before regaining balance. Beside him stood Kiba Inuzuka, grinning like he'd just discovered the greatest joke in the world. "Careful," Kiba teased. "You're practically floating." Naruto rolled his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Kiba leaned closer. "I've been watching you for the past 5 minutes. His grin widened. "You've got that stupid look again." "What look?" "The, I'm thinking about my girlfriend look." Naruto immediately shoved him. "Shut up." Kiba barked a laugh. "Ow! What was that for?" "You started it." "Did not." Behind them, Shikamaru dragged a hand down his face. "Would you two stop acting like academy students?" Naruto pointed accusingly at Kiba. "He's the one who keeps messing with me." Kiba crossed his arms. "I'm just stating facts." Shikamaru sighed. "We've been walking together for nearly a month." His voice sounded exhausted. "Everyone's nerves are shot." Kiba tilted his head. "Oh, please." His grin returned mischievously. "You two are just cranky." Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Cranky?" "Yeah." Kiba continued casually. 3 weeks away from your girls would do that to anyone." Shikamaru groaned quietly. "That's a terrible joke." Naruto didn't laugh. His expression darkened instead. "You're really asking for it tonight," Naruto muttered. Kiba blinked. "What?" Naruto stepped closer. "Maybe if you actually had a girlfriend, you'd understand what you're talking about." The words landed harder than Naruto intended. Kiba's grin vanished instantly. His jaw tightened. For a second, the tension in the air became uncomfortable. Then Kiba scoffed. "Yeah, whatever." Without another word, he leapt onto Akamaru, who had been trotting alongside them the entire time. "Enjoy your romantic reunion," Kiba said dryly. Akamaru barked once before sprinting ahead down the road. Naruto watched him disappear into the darkness. "Man, what's his problem?" Shikamaru exhaled slowly. "You didn't have to snap at him like that. He started it, and you escalated it." Naruto folded his arms stubbornly. "He deserved it." Shikamaru gave him a long look. "You're way too easy to provoke." Naruto huffed. "Am not." "You are." Shikamaru gestured vaguely ahead. "Kiba throws out one stupid comment and suddenly you're ready to start a fight." Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Maybe a little." Shikamaru shook his head. "Honestly, it's not really about you anyway." Naruto frowned. "What do you mean?" Shikamaru stared up at the stars for a moment. "Kiba's frustrated." "Why?" Shikamaru sighed again. "He was planning to ask Hinata Hyuga out before we left for the mission." Naruto blinked in surprise. "Wait. Seriously?" "Yeah." Naruto scratched his cheek. "I had no idea." "Not many people did," Shikamaru said. "Apparently he'd been trying to gather the courage for weeks." Naruto winced. "And then we got assigned the mission." "Exactly." Shikamaru shrugged slightly. "So instead of going home to someone waiting for him," he glanced down the empty road where Kiba had disappeared. "He's going home wondering what might have happened." Naruto fell silent. For once, he didn't have a joke ready. The lights of Konoha shimmered just ahead. Home. But as Naruto stared at the village gates, an uneasy feeling crept into his chest. He couldn't explain why. All he knew was that something felt different tonight. And inside the village, Sakura Haruno was waiting, with news that would change Naruto's life forever. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck as the forest path narrowed into the final road leading toward Konohagakura's gates. "Yeah," he muttered quietly. "Now I kind of feel like a jerk." Shikamaru glanced sideways at him but didn't slow his pace. What's said is said, he replied calmly. Kiba's not just mad at you anyway. Naruto frowned. Then what? Shikamaru shrugged. Mostly himself. Naruto kicked a pebble down the road, watching it bounce along the dirt. And maybe he's a little jealous, Shikamaru added. Naruto blinked. Jealous? Shikamaru gave him a knowing look. He thinks you might end up with Hinata Hyuga. Naruto stopped walking completely. What? Shikamaru kept moving for a few steps before realizing Naruto had frozen behind him. He sighed. You really didn't know? Naruto hurried forward again. Why would he think that? I'd never. I know that, Shikamaru said calmly. You know that. He shoved his hands deeper into his pockets. But insecurity doesn't exactly follow logic. Naruto scratched his cheek awkwardly. Well, it's still dumb. He kicked another rock. I'm with Sakura. Everyone knows that. Shikamaru gave him a long look. You really are clueless sometimes. Naruto bristled immediately. Hey, I'm serious, Shikamaru said flatly. You honestly think Hinata doesn't still care about you? Naruto frowned. She doesn't. Shikamaru stopped for a moment, staring at him like he'd just heard the dumbest statement of the year. Then he resumed walking. Unbelievable. Naruto jogged beside him again. What's that supposed to mean? Shikamaru sighed. Hinata's feelings for you are pretty obvious. Naruto shook his head stubbornly. No, they're not. You really want to argue this? Naruto crossed his arms defensively. I'm not interested in anyone except Sakura. That should make things pretty clear. That's not the point, Shikamaru said. Naruto blinked. Then what is? The point is that Hinata never got closure. Naruto tilted his head. Closure? Shikamaru looked up at the night sky briefly before answering. Remember the pain invasion? Naruto slowed slightly. Of course I do. Then you remember what she said. Naruto's steps faltered. For a moment he didn't reply. Shikamaru continued walking. She risked her life and confessed to you in the middle of a battlefield. Naruto winced. Yeah, I remember. And after everything was over? Shikamaru glanced back at him. You never talked about it again. Naruto scratched his head awkwardly. Well, things got crazy after that. War preparations, training, everything moving faster than he could keep up with. I kinda thought we were okay, Naruto admitted quietly. Shikamaru shook his head. She literally told you she loved you. Naruto groaned. When you say it like that, I sound like a terrible person. Shikamaru smirked faintly. Your words, not mine. Naruto elbowed him lightly. Shut up. The tension eased slightly as the two continued walking toward the village gates. Naruto sighed. I didn't mean to ignore her. I know. There was just a lot going on. Shikamaru nodded. Still is. Naruto huffed. You're enjoying this way too much. Shikamaru smirked. It's amazing how someone so good at reading people can be so bad at reading emotions. Naruto groaned. All right. He raised his hands in surrender. I'll talk to her. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Eventually. Naruto scratched his cheek again. When I get the chance. Shikamaru chuckled quietly. That's the Naruto I know. The massive gates of Konoha finally came into view. Lanterns glowed warmly along the entrance, welcoming the returning shinobi. Naruto inhaled deeply as they stepped through. Home. The familiar scent of the village instantly lifted his mood. Even after years of living there, returning from missions still gave him the same feeling of relief. The quiet streets bustled softly with late-night activity. Restaurants were closing. Shops dimmed their lanterns. Some villagers still wandered the streets enjoying the cool evening air. Naruto stretched his arms over his head with a long yawn. Man, I'm exhausted. Shikamaru glanced toward the village clock mounted on a nearby building. 9 already. Naruto blinked. Seriously? Travel does that to you. They slowed near the central square, where one final member of their mission team stood leaning casually against a wooden post. Kakashi Hatake. Of course. And of course, he was reading. Naruto sighed loudly. Sensei. Kakashi didn't react. Naruto cleared his throat dramatically. Sensei. Still nothing. Naruto leaned closer. You've read that book like 100 times already. Kakashi finally glanced up from the pages. His masked expression somehow still managed to look perfectly calm. Naruto pointed accusingly at the book. How is it still interesting? Kakashi closed the novel with exaggerated care. Because, he said thoughtfully, every time I read one of Jiraiya-sama's stories, I discover something new. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Like what? Kakashi tapped the cover lightly. The complexity of human relationships. Naruto stared at him. Shikamaru stared at him. Kakashi blinked beneath their combined silence. What? Naruto snorted. Sensei, those books are just old man fantasies. Kakashi placed the book back into his pouch calmly. Art is subjective. Shikamaru rubbed his temples. Troublesome. Kakashi stretched casually. Well, I'll be heading to the Hokage Tower to deliver the mission report. He glanced between Naruto and Shikamaru. I'm sure you both have somewhere more important to be. Playful pause. Two very lovely someones, perhaps. Naruto scratched his cheek awkwardly. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Before either could respond, Kakashi formed a quick hand sign. With a small puff of smoke, he vanished. Naruto stared at the empty space. He definitely did that on purpose. Shikamaru shrugged. Probably. Naruto yawned again. So what now?
Shikumari checked the clock once more. I should head out. Naruto nodded. He going to see Ino. Shikamaru's expression softened slightly. Yeah. Naruto grinned. Thought so. Then he stretched again. I'm heading to the flower shop first. Shikamaru paused. Flower shop? Naruto shrugged casually. I wanna get Sakura something. Shikamaru smirked. Did not expect that. Naruto sought him a playful grin. Sure, it did not. Shikamaru turned to leave. Oh, if you see Ino first, tell her something for me. Naruto laughed. Let me guess. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Same message as always. Naruto waved lazily. Don't worry, I got it. Shikamaru shook his head with a faint smile and disappeared down one of the side streets. Naruto headed in the opposite direction. The Yamanaka flower shop glowed softly at the end of the road. He slowed slightly as he approached. A quiet excitement stirred in his chest. Soon he had seen Sakura again. After 3 long weeks, Naruto paused, opened the shop door. The bell above it chimed softly. Hey, anybody home? But instead of usual voice, the shop stood strangely silent, and from somewhere deeper inside the building, Naruto thought he heard someone crying. The bell above the door chimed softly as Naruto Uzumaki stepped inside the Yamanaka flower shop. Warm air filled with the scent of freshly cut flowers drifted toward him immediately. The shop was still brightly lit despite the late hour. Shelves and bucket overflowing with colorful arrangement. Naruto inhaled deeply. Man, it smells amazing in here. Across the room, Ino Yamanaka was helping an elderly woman choose a bouquet. Her hand moved quickly as she tied her ribbon around a cluster of flowers with practiced elves.
Naruto leaned casually against a nearby display, deciding to wait until she finished. Ino glanced up briefly while carrying the bouquet toward the register. "I'll meet you at the counter, ma'am," she said politely. "Oh, one more thing," the elderly woman called. Ino paused mid-step. "Yes. Could I add a few jade lilacs too?" Ino nodded without turning around. "They're right by the register. I'll add them to your order." She continued walking, and promptly walked straight into something solid. Wham! Ino bounced backward slightly, stumbling before two hands quickly caught her shoulders. "Whoa, sorry," Naruto said. Ino blinked in surprise before her expression lit up. "Naruto?" Before he could react, she wrapped her arms around him in an excited hug. "You're back." Naruto froze for a second, caught off guard by the sudden greeting. Yeah," he said awkwardly. He rubbed the back of his head as she pulled away. "Just got in." Ino grinned. "Sakura's been missing you like crazy." Naruto's expression softened instantly. "I missed her too." For a brief moment, Ino studied him quietly. Then she said softly, "She really needs you right now." Naruto blinked. "Wait, what?" Concern immediately crossed his face. "Is something wrong with Sakura?" Ino realized her mistake instantly. She waved her hands quickly. No, nothing like that." Naruto still looked suspicious. "She's just been stressed lately," Ino continued quickly. "Lots of patients at the hospital." It wasn't exactly a lie. Just not the whole story. Naruto relaxed slightly. "Oh." Ino cleared her throat and nudged him toward the counter. "Give me a minute to finish helping this customer, and I'll help you pick something out." Naruto nodded. "Sure." The elderly woman shuffled toward the register carrying a small basket of flowers. As she finished paying, Ino placed the lilacs carefully into her bag. "Would you like help carrying these outside?" Ino asked kindly. Before the woman could answer, Naruto stepped forward and lifted the bag easily. "I've got it." The elderly woman blinked in surprise. "Oh my!" She squinted up at him. "Well, if it isn't Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto chuckled nervously. Hi." She smiled warmly. "You've grown into quite the handsome young man." Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Thanks." The woman gently took his arm as they walked toward the door. Such good manners, too. Ino leaned against the counter watching them leave with an amused smile. "Definitely a catch." The woman continued as Naruto helped her outside. Once the door closed behind them, Ino folded her arms thoughtfully. "All right." She walked toward the flower displays. "If Sakura's pregnant, I should probably avoid anything too strong." She scanned the buckets carefully. Lilies are out. Her fingers brushed across several stems. Carnations should be fine. She selected a cluster of soft pink blossoms and began arranging them into a neat bouquet. By the time Naruto returned, she had already finished wrapping them with ribbon. He waved goodbye to the elderly woman outside before stepping back into the shop. Ino held up the bouquet. "Perfect timing." Naruto blinked. "Whoa." He smiled. "Those look great." "Pink carnations," Ino said proudly. "Simple. Sweet. Perfect for Sakura." Naruto slipped his backpack off his shoulder and reached for his wallet. "How much do I owe you?" Ino waved him off. "Nothing tonight." Naruto looked up. "Huh. They're free." "Seriously?" "Yep." Naruto frowned slightly. "I don't want you getting in trouble with your parents." Ino shrugged. "They'll survive." She leaned on the counter lazily. "Consider it payment for helping that old lady." Naruto grinned. "Well, thanks." He carefully tucked the bouquet under one arm before putting his wallet away. Oh right. He snapped his fingers. Shikamaru told me to pass along a message. Ino raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. Naruto smirked. Same one as always. A small smile touched Ino's lips. Figures. Naruto glanced at the clock on the wall. 9:30 p.m. Guess I should get going. Ino nodded. You probably should. She pointed toward the door. Sakura's going to lose her mind when she sees you. Naruto laughed. Hope so. He waved once before pushing the door open. Thanks again, Ino. The bell chimed as he left. A second later Naruto leapt onto the nearby rooftop, disappearing into the night. Ino watched him go through the window. A quiet laugh escaped her. I know I'm the best. She returned to tidying the shop as the door swung closed behind him. Naruto sprinted across the rooftops of Konoha, the wind rushing past his ears. The familiar skyline blurred beneath his feet. His heart pounded with excitement. 3 weeks. 3 weeks without seeing Sakura. Every leap carried him closer. Soon the apartment building came into view. Naruto landed lightly on the rooftop. Below him sat the small balcony he knew so well. A warm glow spilled through the open window. Naruto dropped down silently onto the balcony railing. Inside, Sakura moved through the kitchen. She wore an oversized black t-shirt that clearly belonged to him. The loose fabric hung off one shoulder as she walked barefoot across the floor, sipping water from a glass. Naruto paused halfway through the window, watching her quietly. Something about the simple moment made his chest tighten. She looked peaceful, alive, home. Sakura finished checking the door lock and turned toward the bedroom, then suddenly froze. Her green eyes widened. Naruto stood in the open window, 1 foot still on the balcony. A grin spread across his face. Hey, Sakura. He stepped fully inside. I'm back. And in that moment, neither of them yet realized that within the next few minutes, both of their lives were about to change forever. Naruto stepped fully into Sakura's apartment, the soft night breeze drifting through the open balcony window behind him. For a moment he simply stood there, taking in the familiar room. The scent of her shampoo lingered in the air, the faint sound of her breathing, the quiet warmth of a place that had slowly become home to him. He pulled the small bouquet from behind his back, suddenly feeling a little awkward. Sakura-chan, Naruto said with a sheepish grin. I brought you something. He never finished the sentence. Sakura moved faster than he expected. 1 second she was across the room. The next she slammed into him. Naruto barely had time to react before the impact sent them both tumbling to the floor with a heavy thud. Whoa! Before he could recover, Sakura wrapped her arms tightly around him, her face buried against his chest. Naruto blinked in surprise. Then he felt it. Her shoulders were trembling. Sakura? He said softly. She tightened her grip around him like she was afraid he might disappear again. I missed you, she whispered. The words were quiet, but the emotion behind them hit Naruto harder than the tackle. He slowly wrapped his arms around her in return. I missed you too. Sakura pulled back slightly, her green eyes searching his face as if confirming he was really there. You were gone forever. Naruto chuckled lightly. It was only 3 weeks. That's forever, she said stubbornly. Naruto smiled. She hadn't changed. Well, he said, lifting the flowers again. I was trying to do a dramatic entrance before getting tackled. Sakura blinked. Oh. She looked down at the bouquet of pink carnations. Those are for me? Naruto scratched the back of his head. Yeah. A soft smile appeared on her lips. You bought me flowers? Naruto looked slightly embarrassed. Ino helped. Sakura laughed quietly. Of course she did. Naruto watched her carefully. Something about her felt different tonight. Not bad, just intense. Her eyes hadn't left his since he walked in, like she was making sure he was real. Sakura? She blinked. Everything okay? For a moment she didn't answer. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. Yes, she said softly. Her voice carried a strange mix of relief and nervous energy. Everything's fine. Naruto studied her for a moment. Then he smiled. Well, good. He wrapped one arm around her waist and gently pulled her closer. Because I was planning on stealing a kiss after being gone this long. Sakura rolled her eyes. You always do. Naruto grinned. Yeah, but this one's earned. He leaned forward. Their lips met in a soft, lingering kiss. Not rushed, not desperate, just warm, comforting, familiar. When they pulled apart, Sakura's cheeks were slightly flushed. Naruto brushed a loose strand of pink hair behind her ear. See, he smiled. Worth the wait. Sakura stared at him for a long moment. Her heart pounded harder than she expected. Because now that he was finally here, the moment she had been dreading was getting closer. Naruto tilted his head slightly. What? Sakura hesitated. Her hand slowly drifted toward her stomach before she quickly pulled it back. Nothing, she said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You're acting weird. Sakura laughed nervously. I am not. You totally are. He narrowed his eyes playfully. Did something happen while I was gone? Her heart skipped. For a second she almost blurted it out. But the words stuck in her throat. Not yet. She wasn't ready yet. Instead she leaned forward again and hugged him tightly. Naruto blinked in surprise. Okay, now you're definitely acting weird. Sakura buried her face against his shoulder. Just stay like this for a minute. Naruto relaxed slightly. All right. He gently rested his chin on top of her head. Neither of them spoke. Outside, the wind rustled softly through the balcony curtains. For Naruto, the moment felt peaceful. But inside Sakura's chest, her heart raced faster with every passing second. Because the longer she waited, the harder it would be to tell him the truth. And Naruto had no idea that the next words Sakura spoke would change his life forever. The apartment grew quiet again after their kiss. Naruto rested one hand against the floor beside Sakura while the other remained around her waist. For a moment neither of them moved. They simply looked at each other. 3 weeks apart had felt much longer than either of them expected. Sakura reached up slowly, her fingers brushing lightly through Naruto's messy blonde hair. You really are back, she whispered. Naruto chuckled softly. Yeah, mission's finally over. Her eyes traced the faint scratches on his cheek and the dust still clinging to his jacket. You look exhausted. I am, Naruto admitted. Then he smiled. But seeing you makes it worth it. Sakura's heart squeezed at the words. For a moment she almost forgot everything else weighing on her mind. Naruto pushed himself up slightly and helped her sit with him on the floor. Sorry about the dramatic entrance, he joked. Didn't expect to get tackled before I could even give you the flowers. Sakura glanced at the bouquet still lying nearby. Oh! She grabbed them quickly and held them close. They're beautiful. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. Ino helped pick them. That explains why they actually look nice, Sakura teased. Naruto laughed. Hey! Sakura leaned her head against his shoulder. The familiar warmth of him beside her filled the room. For a moment she allowed herself to relax. Naruto wrapped an arm around her gently. You know, he said, I kept thinking about this the whole mission. About flowers? No, Naruto said with a grin. About coming home to you. Sakura felt her cheeks warm. Naruto looked down at her. Did you miss me at all? She raised an eyebrow. Not even a little. Naruto gasped dramatically. Wow! Sakura couldn't hold the act. A small laugh escaped her. Of course I missed you. Naruto smiled softly. The playful energy between them slowly melted into something quieter, more intimate. Sakura rested her forehead against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Strong, steady, real. Naruto gently brushed his fingers through her hair. You seem tense. Sakura froze slightly. What makes you say that? I don't know, Naruto admitted. You're holding on to me like I'm about to disappear. Sakura tightened her grip on his shirt unconsciously. Her voice trailed off. Naruto tilted his head slightly, trying to see her face. Sakura? She quickly looked up. I'm fine. Naruto wasn't convinced, but he smiled anyway. All right. He pulled her closer and rested his chin lightly against the top of her head. They sat like that for several quiet moments. Outside the window, the night wind rustled the curtains. Finally, Sakura spoke again. Naruto. Yeah. I'm glad you came home tonight. Naruto chuckled. Of course I did. He tapped her forehead gently. You're here. Sakura's eyes softened. For a second, she considered telling him everything right then. But the words still wouldn't come. Instead, she stood up and pulled him with her. Come on. Naruto blinked. Huh. You've been traveling for days, Sakura said. You probably want a shower. Naruto stretched his arms. Actually, that sounds amazing. She laughed quietly. I thought so. As she led him toward the bathroom, Naruto suddenly stopped and looked back at the room. Something about the night still felt different. Not bad, just unfamiliar. But when Sakura turned and smiled at him again, the feeling disappeared. Naruto followed her down the hallway. Neither of them realized that before the night ended, Sakura would finally reveal the truth she'd been struggling to say, and Naruto's world would change forever.
Naruto closed the bathroom door behind him as Sakura adjusted the shower control. Warm stream slowly filled the small room as the water began running. Naruto kicked off his shoes while Sakura gathered the clothes they had discarded earlier and tossed them toward the hamper. She glanced back at him with a faint smile. You are lucky I had a clean pair ready. She said, you are a means. You know that? Naruto grinned. Hey, you did not exactly stop me. Sakura tried to give him a serious look, but it lasted all of 2 seconds before she laughed quietly. Just behave yourself. No promises, Naruto replied. They stepped beneath the warm stream together. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. This steady sound of water filled the room while the heat washed away the dust and exhaustion of Naruto's long mission. Sakura closed her eyes as the word is the tension in her shoulder, but as the quiet stretch on her thoughts began creeping back, what I'm doing? The rush of emotion from earlier returned all the once. Naruto had just arrived home. He had brought her flowers, and the first thing she had done was tackle him. Her fingers tightened slightly against the till wall. I did not even let him finish what he was saying. The guilt gnawed at her. There was still something far more important she needed to tell him, something she kept delaying. Warmth hand suddenly rest gently on her shoulder.
Naruto leaned closer behind her. You okay, Sakura-chan? His voice was soft, full of concern. Sakura stiffened slightly before forcing a small smile. Of course I'm okay. Even she could hear how fast the words came out. Naruto didn't move his hands. You sure? Sakura nodded quickly. I just missed you. Naruto studied her quietly for a moment. Then he gave a small smile and leaned forward, resting his chin lightly near her shoulder. Well, I missed you too. The tension eased slightly. Naruto chuckled softly. And for the record, he added, getting tackled wasn't the worst welcome home. Sakura laughed despite herself. You deserved it. Naruto pretended to think about that. Yeah, probably. He stretched his arms slightly, clearly feeling the weight of travel finally catching up to him. Man, I'm exhausted. You just got back from a long mission, Sakura said gently. You should rest. Naruto nodded. Yeah, you're probably right. He glanced at her with a teasing grin. But tomorrow I'm claiming the entire day. Oh really? Sakura raised an eyebrow. Absolutely. Big plans. Naruto shrugged. Step 1, sleep. Step 2, food. Step 3, spend time with you. Sakura smiled softly. That sounds like a pretty good plan. A few minutes later, she stepped out of the shower first, wrapping a towel around herself. Warm steam followed her into the bedroom as she pulled on one of Naruto's black shirts. The oversized fabric hung comfortably past her hips. From the bathroom, she could still hear the water running. Naruto had asked for a few extra minutes. She figured he just wanted a moment to relax after the long journey. With a quiet sigh, Sakura began picking up the scattered clothes from the floor. She folded Naruto's jacket neatly and placed it on the dresser along with his other things. His forehead protector landed gently on top of the pile. Then she noticed something lying near the bed. The bouquet. The pink carnations. Sakura paused. Oh, Naruto. She picked them up carefully. A small smile tugged at her lips. You're too sweet. Carrying them into the kitchen, she found an old vase in the cupboard and filled it with water. The flowers looked beautiful sitting in the soft light. Sakura stood there for a moment, staring at them. Naruto always remembered little things like this, even after exhausting missions, even when the whole world seemed to demand everything from him. He always thinks of me. The thought made her chest tighten, because she still hadn't told him. And the longer she waited, the harder it would become. After placing the flowers in the vase, Sakura switched off the kitchen light and checked the front door one last time. The apartment fell into a calm, comfortable silence. Only the faint sound of running water from the bathroom remained. She walked back to the bedroom slowly and slipped beneath the covers. The sheets felt cool against her skin as she curled onto her side. But sleep didn't come immediately. Her thoughts returned. I didn't even let him finish his sentence. Naruto had walked in with flowers. He had looked happy. And instead of telling him what she needed to say, she had tackled him like weeks of loneliness had completely taken over her brain. Sakura pressed her face into the pillow. I should have told him. Her hand drifted unconsciously toward her neck. The skin there had already healed, but the faint mark Naruto had left earlier remained. Kurama's chakra had a way of making certain things permanent. She traced it lightly with her fingers. A small reminder, a symbol of the bond they shared. And yet she still hadn't told him. Her stomach tightened with anxiety. What if he thinks I was hiding it from him? Another thought followed quickly. What if he thinks I don't trust him? Or worse, what if he thinks I was trying to trap him? Sakura squeezed her eyes shut. Naruto had already sensed something was wrong earlier. He always noticed things like that, which meant the longer she waited, the worse it might look. She exhaled slowly and pulled the blanket closer around herself. Tomorrow. She repeated the promise quietly in her mind. Tomorrow I'll tell him. Eventually the exhaustion from the day caught up to her. Her breathing slowed, and before she could rehearse the words again, sleep finally took her. Meanwhile, Naruto remained in the shower. He tilted his head back as hot water poured over him, letting the warmth soak into his muscles. The steady rhythm of the stream helped wash away the lingering fatigue from the mission. He let out a long sigh. Man, I needed this. 3 weeks away from home had taken more out of him than he expected. Physically, he could handle it. Kurama's chakra kept his body running far beyond normal limits. But mentally, that was another story. Even someone like Naruto eventually ran out of energy. He ran his hand through his wet hair, letting the water rinse away the last traces of dust from the road. At least he was home now. No enemies, no missions, no sudden alarms. Just peace. And Sakura. A small smile appeared on his face. Their reunion earlier replayed briefly in his mind. He chuckled quietly to himself. Yeah, definitely worth the trip back. But then, the smile faded. Naruto's eyes opened suddenly. Wait! His brain replayed the moment again, and a very important detail clicked into place. Oh! He rubbed the back of his neck slowly. Normally Sakura was the one who kept track of things like that. They were always careful. But tonight had been different. They hadn't exactly stopped to think. Naruto shook his head. Man. We were both way too excited. Still, he dismissed the thought quickly. It had only happened once. And Sakura was always responsible about those things. It wasn't something he needed to stress about. Naruto shut off the water and stepped out of the shower. Steam filled the bathroom as he wrapped a towel around his waist. The mirror was completely fogged over. He wiped a circle clear with his hand and looked at his reflection. Finally clean, he muttered. His eyes wandered toward the sink. Right where he expected it, his spare toothbrush sat beside Sakura's. Naruto smiled faintly. Something about that simple detail always made him feel strangely warm. He grabbed the toothbrush and started brushing his teeth. While rinsing, a faint metallic taste still lingered in his mouth. Naruto frowned slightly. He had bitten Sakura earlier. Pretty hard. He touched his lip thoughtfully. Hope I didn't hurt her too much. But Sakura would have said something if it bothered her. Still, he made a mental note to check on her tomorrow. Naruto set the toothbrush back into the holder, but accidentally bumped it. Whoa! He caught the cup before it tipped completely over. Close one. But the small movement had knocked something into view inside the nearby trash bin. Naruto blinked. Something plastic. Curious, he crouched slightly and picked it up. At first glance, it looked like some kind of thermometer. But when he turned it over, his heart skipped. 2 small lines stared back at him from a tiny window. Naruto's breath caught. He stared at the object in his hand. His mind slowly pieced together what he was looking at. No way. His voice barely came out above a whisper, because the object in his hand was unmistakable. Pregnancy test. And the result was clear. 2 lines. Positive. The color drained from Naruto's face. For several seconds, he simply stared at the object in his hand, his brain struggling to catch up with what his eyes were seeing. His grip loosened slightly. He quickly sat down on the closed toilet lid before his legs gave out completely. The small plastic stick rested in his palm. 2 thin blue lines. Positive. Naruto swallowed hard. His thoughts spun wildly. A pregnancy test. His eyes moved slowly toward the trash bin where he had found it. Why would something like this be in Sakura's bathroom? His heart pounded harder with every passing second. He turned the test over again like it might somehow give him a different answer. Didn't. The result stayed the same. Positive. Naruto's breathing grew uneven. What does this even mean? He stood up suddenly, water still dripping from his hair and shoulders. The bathroom door swung open with a sharp motion. Sakura-chan. His voice echoed down the short hallway. Is this what I think it is? Silence. Naruto stepped into the bedroom. The lamp beside the bed cast a soft glow across the room. And there, Sakura lay asleep beneath the covers. Her breathing slow, peaceful, completely unaware of the storm raging in Naruto's head. Naruto froze in the doorway. Steam drifted from the bathroom behind him, curling around his shoulders. He ran a hand through his damp hair in frustration. This can't be right. His eyes dropped back to the test. It just can't. A slow, rumbling voice echoed through his mind. She is pregnant. Naruto flinched. You've got to be kidding me. His shoulders tensed. Kurama! Inside his mindscape, the nine-tailed fox stretched lazily within the darkness of the sealed space. You really can be unbelievably dense sometimes, Kurama said with clear amusement. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. What's that supposed to mean? Kurama huffed. It means exactly what it sounds like. Naruto held up the test in disbelief even though the fox could see through his senses. This doesn't prove anything. Kurama chuckled deeply. It proves plenty. Naruto shook his head stubbornly. That could belong to someone else. His mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe Ino came over earlier. Or Tenten stopped by or something. Kurama's tail flicked lazily. You're reaching. Naruto crossed his arms defensively. You don't know for sure. The fox's voice lowered slightly. Her scent changed. Naruto froze. What? Kurama continued calmly. You noticed it earlier. Naruto blinked. His thoughts flashed back to earlier that night. Something had felt different. He had noticed it briefly but couldn't place why. I thought she smelled a little different, Naruto admitted slowly. Kurama hummed. That's because her body has changed. Naruto's heart skipped. Changed how? Kurama gave a low, rumbling chuckle. You really want me to explain biology to you? Naruto scowled. Just answer the question. Kurama sighed dramatically. It means her body is preparing to create life. The words hit Naruto like a physical blow. He looked back toward the bedroom. Sakura slept quietly beneath the blanket. Peaceful. Unaware. Naruto's chest tightened. Are you sure? Kurama was silent for a moment. Then the fox spoke again. Yes. Naruto's throat felt dry. Since when? Kurama's voice echoed through the mindscape. A little over a month. Naruto's mind raced. A memory surfaced instantly. A night neither of them had ever forgotten. The intensity, the closeness, the way everything had felt stronger than usual. Naruto exhaled slowly. That night, Kurama snorted. Exactly. Naruto stared down at the test again. So, you're saying? His voice faded. Kurama finished the sentence calmly. You're going to be a father. The words hung in the air. Naruto didn't move, didn't speak. His eyes slowly drifted back toward Sakura sleeping peacefully on the bed. His heart pounded harder than it ever had in battle. Because the truth finally settled in. His entire life had just changed. Naruto remained frozen in the bathroom doorway, the pregnancy test still clutched in his hand. Inside his mind, Kurama shifted lazily within the dark space of the seal. Naruto blinked. Wait. His brow furrowed. You said you helped? Kurama's voice carried a hint of smug amusement. I merely nudged things in the right direction. Naruto's jaw slowly dropped. You did something? Kurama huffed. You wanted it too. Don't act surprised now. Naruto stared down at the tiny plastic stick again, his heart still racing. You're saying this happened because of you? Kurama chuckled quietly. I only ensured your instincts weren't wasted. Naruto dragged a hand through his damp hair in disbelief. My instincts. His mind replayed that night from weeks ago. The intensity, the closeness. how everything between him and Sakura had felt stronger than usual. Naruto slowly sank onto the edge of the bathtub. Why now? He stared blankly at the floor. We've been together for years. His voice was quieter now, confused. We've been careful. We've had plenty of time together. He rubbed his temples. So why this time? Kurama sighed deeply. Because your timing has always been terrible. Naruto frowned. What? Kurama's voice carried dry patience. You're constantly on missions. Sakura works long hours at the hospital. Half the time you're not even in the village at the same time. Naruto paused. That's... Kurama continued. And when she was most fertile before, you were either gone, exhausted, or asleep before anything could happen. Naruto blinked slowly. His brain pieced the logic together. So we just kept missing the timing? Yes. Kurama sounded unimpressed. But that night last month, Naruto swallowed. Everything lined up. Kurama chuckled quietly. You were both home. She was ready. And you were reacting exactly the way nature intended. Naruto stared at the pregnancy test again. 2 lines. Still there. Still real. This can't actually be happening. His breathing grew uneven. Kurama's tone sharpened slightly. Why are you panicking? Naruto shot to his feet. I'm not panicking. He began pacing the narrow bathroom floor. Okay, maybe I'm panicking a little. He pointed at the test. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. His voice softened slightly. We didn't plan this. Naruto stopped pacing. His gaze drifted toward the bedroom door. Sakura still slept peacefully in the next room. I just turned 19, he muttered. His voice carried a mix of disbelief and fear. We were supposed to have more time. His fingers tightened around the test. What if I mess this up? For a rare moment, Kurama didn't respond immediately. The fox's voice finally returned. Calm. Ancient. You won't. Naruto closed his eyes briefly. Kurama continued. You protect the ones you care about. That's what you've always done. Naruto exhaled slowly. Yeah. Kurama's tone softened slightly. You love her. And she loves you. Naruto looked toward the bedroom again. That part wasn't in doubt. Not even a little. He ran a hand through his hair again. We're going to need a bigger place. Kurama snorted. Now you're thinking properly. Naruto glanced around the bathroom. Sakura can't raise a baby in this tiny apartment. His own place wasn't much bigger either. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. We'll need space. Kurama's voice rumbled with approval. A safe place. Food. Stability. Naruto nodded slowly. Yeah. His heartbeat began settling slightly as the shock faded. I can do this. Kurama's presence began fading back into the depths of Naruto's mind. Of course you can. The fox's final words echoed softly. You're stronger than you think. The connection faded. Naruto stood alone in the quiet bathroom again. Steam still lingered in the air, and in his hand, the small plastic stick that had just changed everything. Naruto stared at it one more time. Then his gaze drifted toward the bedroom, where Sakura slept peacefully. He swallowed, because tomorrow, everything between them was going to change.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.